The Harvey Weinstein sexual abuse scandal has shaken Hollywood and the whole country. But there's another issue we shouldn't lose sight of, and it's about our culture. For years, the people who preach the loudest about social justice have produced content that undermines the very things they say they stand for. Elite cultural hypocrisy is the subject of tonight's Swamp Watch. In 2008, Harvey Weinstein started a petition to release the child rapist filmmaker Roman Polanski from his statutory rape conviction. When asked if Hollywood is amoral, Weinstein said, quote, "Hollywood has the best moral compass." The best moral compass? Interesting choice of words from the monster we now know him to be, but also very illuminating because this is truly how they see themselves. Liberal champions, crusaders for social justice. Why? Because they give money to Democrats, of course. Judge me by my donations, not my deeds. In reality, the industries that claim to be the most progressive, movies, music, entertainment, fashion, have done more to set back women's rights and minority rights and more to encourage violence in our society than just about anyone else. A paper that looked at 500 popular films over a 5-year period found that only 29% of speaking characters on screen were female. A third of women in top-grossing films were shown in sexualized ways, compared to just 9% of men. For young girls, it's even worse. 56% of females between 13 and 20 were sexualized on screen. Hardly surprising when you discover that in Hollywood, this bastion of liberal values, only 12% of writers are women, and for directors, it's a pathetic 4%. Remember that the next time Meryl Streep or Jane Fonda or whoever it is lectures you about how sexist Republicans are. The music industry is even worse. The Miley Cyrus promo for the song Adore was described as more of a sex tape than an actual music video. And Robin Thicke's music video for Blurred Lines featured 3 topless models dancing to lyrics about the blurred lines around consensual sex. Of course, another corner of this sexualizing swamp is the fashion industry. And perhaps no one in that industry is more iconic than the editor-in-chief of Vogue and Condé Nast's artistic director Anna Wintour. So, I was interested when she popped up last week with this.
Since our country's current leadership is destabilizing our core beliefs, companies like Condé Nast must stand for values. They must lead.
What values are those, exactly? Anna Wintour has been in a swampy you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours relationship with Harvey the harasser for decades. Not a pretty sight, I know. Harvey gave Anna his Miramax starlets like Gwyneth Paltrow and Renee Zellweger. Anna put them in her magazine to help Harvey promote his movies. Kind of a quid pro gross. Anna Wintour, you may think President Trump is destabilizing your core beliefs, but if gender equality is one of them, you're doing a pretty good job all on your own. You've run images showing a nude woman subordinated to 2 men, including a police officer, and this one showing a female model being choked by a man standing behind her. No wonder that real advocates for women's rights have condemned you. Are sexy magazine covers empowering for women? This evidence says no. In fact, it's so bad that a petition was launched to eliminate sexist ads in Teen Vogue. If Anna Wintour wants to lead, perhaps she might start by taking a look at her own publications. And while we're talking about moral leadership, what about race? Hollywood, just like most liberals, likes to say that Trump voters, that's half the country by the way, are racists. Turns out, when you look at their deeds instead of their donations, it's the entertainment elites who, by their own standards, are the real racists. Hollywood's racial and ethnic underrepresentation led to the Oscars So White social media campaign. Hollywood also regularly typecasts actors in negative roles just based on their race or ethnicity. Pakistani British actor Riz Ahmed, who was nominated for an Emmy for The Night Of, for example, wrote about constantly being asked to play the role of a terrorist. Plenty of other actors and comedians like Maz Jobrani and Asif Mandvi have complained of the same thing. And for all their high-mindedness about how you're racist and they embrace racial and ethnic diversity, their gated neighborhoods are surprisingly homogenous. Malibu, for example, is 87.4% white. The last census found that there were 12,000 residents. Guess how many were black? 148. These elitists should get their own house in order before lecturing everyone else about how racist and sexist they are. Of course, they also love lecturing you on gun control, even though it's their industry that's normalizing and inspiring violence. Celebrities like Amy Schumer, Trevor Noah, Tom Arnold, Deborah Messing, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Susan Sarandon, and Julianne Moore are all avid gun control advocates. This from the same industry that gives us blockbusters chock full of gun violence like John Wick. In John Wick 2, the relentless gun violence has 302 shots fired and 128 deaths from firearms. Since 1985, 94% of the most popular Hollywood movies have included at least one violent scene, and half of those included guns. Even kids aren't spared the liberal elite's big-budget violence. Over the past 30 years, the number of PG-13 movies depicting gun violence has tripled. And video games, actually a bigger part of the entertainment industry than movies, are even worse. Games like Grand Theft Auto, Doom, Halo, Medal of Honor, and Mortal Kombat all glorify violence. Grand Theft Auto allows the player to steal cars, fire at pedestrians, solicit prostitutes, and murder police officers. Nintendo's new release, Gal Gun 2, lets players fire pheromone shots to agitate screens full of young girls. It just goes on and on and on, year after year. Hollywood, the music industry, fashion. They say one thing, but do another. Rather than telling Americans that sexism, racism, and gun violence are all the fault of backward, knuckle-dragging Trump voters, these hypocritical elites should drop their self-righteousness for just 1 second and acknowledge the damage they've done to our culture and our society.